We're back again, Ash, after a long break.
Yes, after a very long time. We are back.
It actually makes me realise, what are we pod? This would officially be pod number 4. But there is a missing pod 4, isn't there?
Ooh.
That, well, let's just say ties in well with what would be the theme of this pod.
Mm-hmm.
The theme of that pod was Creepin.
Mm-hmm.
And the theme of this pod is similar, creeping and spooky, as we lead up to Halloween, a holiday that neither of us celebrate.
No. Well, I celebrate Reformation Day, but that's a different story.
I also celebrate Reformation Day. More college put that into me.
Yeah, definitely. And Mark Thompson thing.
But there is a missing episode because when I went to edit, on Ash's end, there is a weird humming noise. Not like humming, because that would be super weird.
That would actually be wonderful.
There was a humming noise throughout the whole thing, and I couldn't really salvage it. But then we've spoken to a few of you, dear listeners, who want to hear it anyway. So I might release some bonus things between eps.
Honestly, it wasn't a good ep. I think that was also the other reason we gave up. It was like, do we bother? If this was a brilliant episode, we would make it work. But very quickly, both of us said, no, this is hot garbage, as some would say. It is curious, considering every single window is closed. I also have double windows, so there's no sound coming through there.
Yeah.
I didn't have any air conditioning on. We could say it's a ghost. However, it's also probably that I had a very old and dying phone, which I now have gotten rid of. And so hopefully we won't have the ghost again. So yeah, here we are. We're back. I feel like we're probably willing to repeat a couple of the things we talked about in Creepin because very few people will ever listen to that.
Yeah. Maybe not the Shrek mug. I was listening to the Shrek mug bit just before. That's just this great description of her Shrek mug.
I totally forgot. I forgot dude, I must have been high. Can I say that on the pod? Because I remember very little of what we talked about except for spiders. That's all I remember. Yeah. Spiders. And then Creepin, the song by Darren Hayes. That's about all I remember. So thank you for reminding me of the Shrek mug. I also would like to listen to that content. And as soon as you said it, I was like, oh, my Shrek mug. I miss that guy. But
I'll try my best. You can all hear the ghost in the background. Me and my ghost, we had a hell of a time.
But perhaps you could also try and figure out what the ghost is trying to tell us. There's so many things that could creep one out, you know? Even discussing this very briefly, you and I, Monique, we were surprised at how different our creep stories were. As in, mine's often engaging with the supernatural. Not that I necessarily engaged with the supernatural, but it involves supernatural, eerie, unexplicable things. Unexplicable? It's inexplicable, I think. English is leaving me, everyone. And yours is nothing like that at all. I also have been the creep before, but that's, I mean, anyone who knows me would know that. But yeah, we're going to be talking about sleepwalking. We're going to be talking about the supernatural. We've already talked about ghosts.
Oh, yeah.
I'm convinced that there was a ghost at Chapo who sometimes would steal embarrassing drawings that I'd done and I'd rip them up and put them in the bin, and then I went to go look for it again and it was gone. All the other trash was there, but the ghost had taken the picture I'd drawn, which was torn up for a reason. But anyway, I digress. Where would you like us to begin with this episode? Are there things to say?
Well, I think most of the creepin' spooky things will be your stories, Ash, because, yours are around the supernatural and things. Mine are either mysteries or just things that I find creepy. People I find creepy.
Of course. Things that creep us out, as you mentioned, that perhaps other people don't find creepy at all.
True.
Because I feel like we all have those things. I mean, we've all had those things since we were kids, like, oh, I was scared of clowns or whatever. Honestly, everyone's a little bit afraid of clowns. That's true.
I'm not at all.
That's actually sociopathic of you. But anyway, in terms of what we find creepy that other people don't. I mean, you announced mine at my birthday party. Thanks for bringing it up, by the way. We will talk about it again. I also believe this episode will perhaps have some talk about aliens. That's all you have to say on that one for now.
I don't have anything to say on aliens just yet. We'll hold that off. But maybe we should start with some of the stories that we told in the last pod.
Yeah, we have an old friend who we could talk about that we met in my neighbourhood.
He wasn't spooky.
No, but this is the gateway. This is how we get into increasingly spooky things. By the way, just one time I want to say spooky the way Harry Potter says it. Ooh, spooky. That's all I wanted to say.
Spooky.
You know, Chamber of Secrets, throwback.
Yeah, we were out one night in Suyu, which is where Ash lives, revealed your location. And we had a good dinner. Many things stick out to me for that night. Anyway, we're walking back and we are on the hunt for a norabang, a karaoke venue. You're talking about Mon and Ash here. We karaoke better than most, something we did multiple times in Korea.
Yeah.
We actually had a really creepy experience. Actually, we probably shouldn't talk about that experience.
Yeah, no, we won't talk about the true creepy experiences. I feel like we can leave it at we tried a few different establishments, to say the least, and not only were we turned away, but we voluntarily turned away in disgust. So we were still kind of looking for a while, and that's what makes this story kind of all the more funny in hindsight, because we didn't know how much we'd need this man until later on in the evening. But we did meet a man. What happened? What do you recall?
I just remember he said something and I didn't catch what it was, but you did, okay? He said something, but the first thing I remember is seeing this man who was very handsome, okay? But also like tattooed and everything, which I don't find handsome at all. That's it's a big no for me. Yep. It's an okay for you, but it's a big no for me. But he was looking at me and we made eye contact and then I looked away because I was like minding my own business.
And everyone knows that handsome men are rotten to the core. If Japanese dramas told us anything, it's that truth.
Yeah, rotten to the core indeed. But then he says something to us and I didn't know what it was. So I sort of smiled and engaged, but all I hear is Ash saying, no, like in this very... And then he sort of tried again and I can't remember what he said, but you were like, no. And then I said, Ash, what did he ask you? Because he was looking at me down the street. And then you said, yeah, he was looking at me too. He made eye contact with me as well. He said to us, are you looking for a karaoke oppa?
Yeah. Do you want a karaoke oppa? And he said it in Konglish. Because you heard, I'm pretty sure from memory, you heard the word karaoke.
Yeah,
and
I
you were like, oh, you know, what's going on? We are looking for karaoke.
Yeah, how did he know that we were looking for karaoke?
Yeah. And I kind of looked at him very like, within milliseconds, listeners, I had so many thoughts. I was like, are we about to be drugged? Are they going to harvest my organs? Will he take me down to the basement and chain me there for life? I don't know what's going to happen, but I was kind of shocked, you know. It was such a brief question and it was very forward and he was very handsome. So it was all very confusing. Anyway, I then, as you said, it started like oh no, just a very like immediate like surprise and then no, it's just a no. And then he kind of, he tried again, kind of Konglish again. And I was like, no, thank you, goodbye. And then we walked on. Monique kind of blissfully ignorant still at this point in the immediate interaction.
He followed us for a bit.
But it kind of sent chills down my spine a little bit. It was a bit creepy to go in the theme with the ep, but I didn't feel unsafe.
No.
It was kind of a mystery because then we continued to kind of discuss what was his motive, you know? Was he the handsome guy chosen to go pick up foreign women off the street? Or was he actually genuinely a wholesome guy looking for friends? He didn't know how to say, would you like a friend? Instead of, would you like a karaoke oppa? And maybe he just was like, I'm lonely. I want to have like some friends and we can just sing Spice Girls all night. I'm willing to pay. I need friends. Maybe that's what he was thinking. Either way, we weren't the people for it. I just said, pick someone else, buddy. It's not going to be us. I think that surprised me as well. I felt like he was possibly younger than us.
Yeah.
And I thought about what I was wearing and I was like, us? Like, no offense to you, Monique. I'm surprised, you know. Women who are 30 and older, pastors in Korea. It's just Strange. It's a strange thing that happened. So Karaoke Oppa is his name. And we talk about him sometimes because in the end, we kind of felt like maybe we do need to find Karaoke Oppa. All the other things that we're finding here is not great. Word to the wise, if you want to find a trustworthy karaoke establishment, just pretty much only trust things with coin in the title.
Yeah.
If it's coin norebang, then we trust it. It's good. You get your own booth and you're paying per song and it's safe, you know? Pretty much don't trust anything else. So Karaoke Oppa.
I was very impressed though because like it's our instincts, right? We go to like the worst possible scenario. And I've been, you know, there's creepy people in the world and sort of it's the feminine thing to like act nice so that this person leaves you alone and doesn't follow you anywhere, just in case that they're absolutely crazy. But Ash, so confident, just goes, no. And I'm like, that's what my brain says, but my mouth doesn't say it. My mouth says, oh, I'm okay. But my brain's like, no, creepy person, leave me alone. Who do you think I am? And Ash just comes out and says it. It's just like, no. So I am proud of you, and I'm glad that you heard and you spoke for us. So
well, this is possibly the ep to hook my parents back into the listening fan base. They can feel better about my safety. I'm curious to know though, Mon, like, because I was a bit shook. I thought, surely we're talking supernatural. When we think creepy, eerie things, and you know, Halloween, it's kind of the vibe. Maybe it's also kind of serial killer or whatever, but a lot of the time we're thinking a bit supernatural, but you're like, not once has that kind of crossed your mind or been in your experience. So when you're thinking creepy or things that have been eerie, like, what are you thinking?
I'm just thinking of like people I've met who are, your instincts go off and be like, stay away from this person. And I've even had like, yeah, as you well enough know, like if you know me personally, listeners, I'll tell you the story because in hindsight, hilarious, but maybe not for the pod. But people who I've been set up with in one way or another, where their name in my phone is stay away from this particular person because I don't want to delete them lest they call me one day and I don't know who that is. So they're my sort of creep. I think maybe because of some of the things I've experienced in my early life, like I sort of escaped to Buffy the Vampire Slayer. What a great show.
Great.
Things like that.
I have a signed book from Spike, by the way, if you'd like to look at it or touch it or smell it or something.
But like because the scriptures have taught me and, you know, I've read the Witch of Endor story, when I hear of like witchcraft stuff, I'm always like, and when I walk past crystal shops, like in Newtown, my mates of college used to say, here's Mon's favourite shop.
Good mates.
Crystal's like, taking these beautiful shiny things, you know, I love shiny things, like taking these beautiful shiny things the Lord has made and saying that they like heal one's soul of complacency or something stupid like that.
Yeah. Oh man.
Well, when we were in Jeju and we were at that folk village and there were those shamany things everywhere.
Yeah, that freaks me.
And then there was this random lady doing working in the garden there, just ducked down, and that was really creepy. But then the sign that you found, which was maybe I can find it. I want to read it directly for the listeners.
I love that sign. And you have to recall that I called out to you, and I said,
yeah, oh yeah.
Well, I think I said something like, Monique, I found the thing for you or something like that.
I found something for you. I found your thing here.
Yeah.
And it says, a Cheongyangdang, I can't say that properly, sorry. Our many Korean listeners. A shrine
Yep.
is a place for comforting a single woman, a victimized soul, and apothesizing her as a guardian of God of a village. Ooh. It doesn't even make sense. But that's me, the single woman,
the victimized
soul. And so I was like, I need a photo with that sign.
Yeah, best appease this victimized soul, otherwise I'm going to haunt your asses forever.
I can't imagine haunting someone. I don't think
I think it'd be kind of fun.
in me to do it. Anyway, but yeah, so my I'm going to tell my one and only like mystery story, which is just that there were these little cuts on my fingers, and I found that they kept increasing. You know, on the top part of your finger near the nail, the little knobby bit. They just kept getting worse, and sometimes it'd be like an actual cut, and sometimes it'd just be lines, and I was so confused, and I sort of kept this to myself. And then one day, it'd been months of these cuts on my fingers. Actually, it's got a really lame ending. Just be ready for a lame ending.
Okay, thanks for the preemptive warning. Because I was really hooked.
Anyway, it's a really bad ending. Just be ready for that. What do you think it could be, listeners? Do you know immediately what it is? I then spoke this to someone and they're like, yeah, that's super weird. Like, how on earth do you get scratches on the, because I showed them and I can still see them to this day, these little lines on the top of my fingers.
I have a theory, but it's strange that it's all of the fingers. Because I used to get that kind of on one or two, particularly my thumbs. And I know exactly what it is. If yours is the same as mine, and then it's going to be super weird. So I'm just going to wait and hear what the actual answer is. And then I can be like, yes, that's it. Or I'll be like, no, we had different experience.
Maybe you can just supplement your own thing, listeners. Like, what is something that just regularly happens to you and you ignore it? And then one day you're like, I can't ignore this anymore. Where on earth is happening? And what do you think it is? Maybe it's really obvious. Maybe it's super obvious. Well, what do you think it is, Ash?
I don't think it's obvious. Unless you were like in uni doing prac or something where you, I don't know, going through lots of sheets of paper or something. No. And then it was like cutting your fingers. Because that's not what happened to me. But that's the only thing I can imagine happening for you. So
no, it was when I was at college. It was just from popping my medication packet every morning.
Yeah, that's what it was for me.
Same thing as you?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I reckon I'll cut this out of the pod. It's not very interesting.
And as soon as I agreed, oh yeah, that's what it was for me too, story ended. Done. That's it. No big hurrah, just that's what it was. So be careful, people, with your medication generally. Always read the instructions, chat to your doctor, even before ceasing to take it. But yeah, it turns out that the medication thingies, what do you even call that? The sheet? Anyway, my question is, how was it on, like, how do you get your tablets out? Because I almost exclusively use my thumb.
But use your thumb on the other side, right?
Yeah, but then it pops and then you grab it. And I don't grab it with all four fingers, you know? And actually, if it's a big enough tablet, that's why you use your thumb. You shouldn't have to take it out. Like, it should just pop out into your hand. Mine is so small, unfortunately, that I have to then grab it. But
grab it out.
I feel like most... Anyway, this is a strange conversation ending up having. But there you go. Yes, that is mysterious. Almost as mysterious as something else we mentioned in the pod.
Yeah.
Which I just feel like I have to get it off my chest now. And it's very loosely related, but I'm going to link it. I still feel a bit salty about the fact that when I was a kid, between the ages of 4 and 10, somewhere in there, our house, me and my parents, got robbed. And this is in the days of DVDs, so maybe we should do the math. Anyway, we got robbed. Our giant bull mastiff did nothing to help. Thanks a lot for nothing, Ruby. I should be more gentle. She's dead. Rest in peace. But I felt like I was confused because they stole the DVDs, all of them, except for my New York Minute DVD with Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen. Why the hell wouldn't you take that? I feel offended, actually, that you would leave that brilliant film behind. Do you not think that you can sell that for a lot of money? My parents were like, Ash, I think it's because they know it's lame. And I was like, excuse me. I think it's because there's still the $10 X rental sticker on here and they thought we want to sell it for more, but we can't be bothered to spend time taking off the sticker. So we're just going to leave it because we're thieves and we have to get out of here. Anyway, still a mystery. I don't exactly know why they left it.
It's so insulting.
It is insulting.
New York Minute is simple plan.
It's where we got Vacation, the song Vacation. It's so good. Oh. And one of the best moments is when Mary-Kate gets up there and she's trying to like pretend she's Ashley to save this thing. She's like Model UN or something and she has nothing to say for this speech and she just speaks Avril Lavigne. And it actually is quite moving, I think, because you try and you try and you try, you know. Anyway, less about mysteries, back into creepy things. What else were you thinking of talking about today?
The only other thing was just certain people that I know from my previous church, they call me the prophetess. And my biggest ever prophetess thing, which I found a bit creepy, was there was my friend James. I won't use his full name for reasons that will become apparent. But my friend James was in my year of college and he was going back to China for the summer holidays before our 4th year. And I had this really strong feeling I was never going to see him again. I just had this deep feeling.
He's not dead.
And
just to clarify, I just felt like it needed to be said now because you were making it really ominous. And maybe this is the creepy thing of your day, listening to this story, but just gonna cut in because, you know, you sometimes say you're not great at telling stories. I don't think it's that you're not a good storyteller. It's just that sometimes you choose to leave things out. Anyway, he's not dead. He's alive and well, but you haven't seen him since? I don't know. What happened? Sorry to cut you. Please continue.
well, it gets to the extent where my brain goes to this friend who was doing MTS at our church. And he went overseas back to, I don't know, where it was, Egypt or somewhere. He didn't come back for like a year because he met a childhood friend and they fell in love and they were engaged and they were going to get married.
Sounds like
so
a
he didn't come
Hallmark
back for
film.
ages. And so I was like, maybe this is what this feeling means. And so I actually said to him, you know, like, dear brother, don't find a childhood friend and get married and never come back. And we were laughing about it, like bantering about it. But I got to tell you, like, so much, I had this conversation with him once or twice. And then when I saw him for the last time, like, I gave him a hug. And then I get this email from him in mid-January that's like, alas, sister, I have not found a childhood friend and the Lord still has me as single and I'm keen to come back to Australia. Like, it was this sort of banter between us. 2 days later, Rona-virus. 1 week later, borders closed.
Dang.
And I haven't seen him since.
The Rona didn't get him. We have had communication. Again,
Yeah.
I'm just popping things into the story just to ease the mind of the listener. We know he's alive and well.
The creepy thing is not what has happened to the man. The creepy thing was I just knew I wasn't going to see him again.
Yeah.
I just knew it. Yeah. So that's creepier. It's creepy to me.
Yeah.
And I've had other feelings like that as well. And I generally don't tell people about them because I don't want to freak them out. And I'm not charismatic. So.
Well, also, yeah, you never know which one's gonna, come to fruition or not.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, we're leveling up, people.
Yeah.
Buckle in, because on the feeling of premonitions and
Yeah.
things like that, my family historically has actually had, whether it be us ourselves or friends of the family, have had varying levels of just God-given intuition that has either saved someone's life or avoided like a scam or something like that. And there are many I could tell. We're going from 0 to 100 here because this is probably the creepiest thing about my life that I've experienced. That's not, horrid and dark. It is creepy. So when I was growing up, between the ages of perhaps 2 to 5 or so, I don't know. We lived in a cute little house in Wollongong. It actually was on a 2-house block. So it actually meant that our backyard was massive. And I loved that as a kid. Had my kindergarten birthday there. It was the best. We also owned my first dog there, Toby. He was really cute and I was obsessed with him. And when I was in about kindergarten, he and I would run around, I was an only child. I was like, who else am I going to play with? So I kind of did things with my imaginary friends and my dog Toby. One day, our family friends came over, Ron and B. Ron was in Dad's bridal party. B's like this super sweet woman, one of the sweetest women you'll ever meet. They came over once. In hindsight, I realised, we always kind of went to a park or, went to their house or something else. We then, a few years later, moved house. They came to that house and she loved it. And she was like, by the way, I don't know this story. I know it because my mum told me when I was a teenager and I was freaking out because I have some memories of it, but not everything. My mum told me as a teenager, when Ron and B came to our new house, B ended up saying to me privately, Jo, I really do love this house and I was never really sure if I was going to say anything to you before, but I'm really glad you left the last house. And Mum was like, oh, why? Like, did you see something wrong? Like, what was going on? And she said, well, I don't usually tell people this. This is a Catholic woman, quite a strong, devout Catholic woman. She said, I feel very uncomfortable about it, but I do have this kind of unwanted gift where I see visions and I see things and I sense things that I don't want to see. To the point where she's actually helped a very significant police case and they found evidence based on things that she's said about a murder. You know, it's legit. She sees things and I don't know why, and she tries to avoid it. She doesn't like it, but it just comes to her sometimes. My mum knew this and she's like, B, what the hell? She's like, tell me what was wrong with the old house. She said, well, did Ash ever tell you anything strange or interesting about her room, or was she ever scared to go in there? And my mum was like, hell yeah, that kid had night terrors every single night. And she would keep me awake and it was hella annoying. And she'd always either think that there were sharks swimming in the carpet, which is legit true. I remember the visions, okay?
Wow.
Or she would say that there were black ghosts up on the ceiling. And I remember that, people.
Wow.
I remember it.
Wow.
Anyway, I don't think the shark things were true, but I definitely remember the black masses in the ceiling. They were like swimming around the ceiling. Kind of think like Prisoner of Azkaban Dementor type things.
Yeah.
You know how a lot of the time when they're flying, they're just kind of like a cloak flying around. It didn't look exactly like that, but that's the closest I can remember when I was about 6 or 7 years old. And she said also Ash would always be having such a fun time playing around with Toby, the dog. He was, you know, toilet trained and everything. And they'd be running around and she'd be running away from him and she'd run into her room and jump on the bed and he'd run in after her, like forgetting every time, and then realize where he was. He'd pee immediately in the middle of the floor and run out with his tail between his legs, like every time. And he never did that anywhere else in the house. And it was yeah, like he would forget where he was and then he realized, oh my gosh, and he'd be really scared and he'd run away. And
this is terrifying.
My mum's friend B was like, and you didn't like think about that like at all? Or like, did you talk to anyone about it? She's like, well, what would I... It was just a weird thing. Like my mum was like, why? It's just like, it's kind of what kids do. It's kind of, Ash has like a wild imagination. The dog, I don't know. It's just dogs are weird sometimes. And B was like, yeah, children and dogs often do have heightened senses with these things. My mum's like, B, what the hell? Like, just tell me straight what is happening. And B said, I'm not going to tell you straight. But as soon as I went into the house, I got an immediate sense that something very evil was like present in Ash's front bedroom. And my mum was like, and you didn't tell me this? She was like, well, I always like checked in to like ask questions that you didn't know what I was asking, but I was just like seeing how Ash was and stuff. So I didn't think, if I thought she was in immediate danger, I would have, done something. But there was a bad thing and it was good that you left. And Mum's like, well, what the hell? Thank you for nothing in hindsight. That's probably the creepiest thing that's ever happened to us.
That's so creepy.
Yeah, it's so creepy.
So she didn't name it. She didn't name it.
That.
She just said it was something evil.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Not great. I also did just generally have night terrors probably until I was about 10 or 11 years old. So even in the next house, but they weren't the same. I never saw those black things again, like those black blobs up in the roof. I was so scared. I remember and so I just always needed the light on and everything like that.
Wow.
I just remembered another creepy thing, but that's more wholesome. But anyway, I'll tell that creepy story in a second. But to finish off with the black blobs, I did continue to have night terrors for quite a while. When we moved to the new house, I was like, Ash, you are getting over this phobia of the dark. Our bedrooms were at the front of the house again. Our bathroom was literally the entire way at the back of the house. And because we'd often let our dogs sleep indoors at night, we'd have several doors we had to go through to kind of get to the bathroom. And I remember deliberately choosing to keep the lights off because I was like, I'm not going to be scared of the dark. There's nothing here that can get me. Moving on to a little bit more wholesome, but still eerie. Yeah. And I genuinely have questions about this because, I don't know, my reading of, the scriptures means that I don't necessarily believe in ghosts, you know? Like, I definitely believe in the supernatural. But in terms of, like, the spirits of humans lurking around on the earth, I'm just not too sure, you know what I mean? But how do you kind of answer these things that you experience or you see other people? Honestly, I think sometimes it's the devil just trying to confuse you or give you false hope or something like that. When I was a child, again, children, they're creepy.
Children are
When I
creepy.
was much too young, I don't remember this, much too young. I would have been about 2 or 3 when we were living in Epping. I used to apparently have an imaginary friend called Little Raymond. And I was consistent. Like, Little Raymond and I would hang out all the time.
Little Raymond. Like, not Raymond.
Yeah,
Little Raymond.
Little Raymond. No, Little Raymond.
And you lived in Epping?
He was my age.
You lived in Epping?
Yeah.
Oh.
2 doors down from Pip Witheridge.
Oh. Oh, yeah, I did know that. Sorry, Anyway.
It's all coming back.
Okay, back. It's all coming back. Okay,
the house is no longer there.
Little
It's a
Raymond,
duplex or something.
your age? Yeah.
Little Raymond, yeah, he was my age. Look, the only things I possibly remember / my memories are being fed by what my mum's told me is that he had like milky white skin and like brown straight hair with like a fringe. But he was my age. He was like 2 or 3. We'd hang out all the time. Mum was like, it was only ever positive. I never felt scared. You know when kids make up things or they're imaginary or whatever. But, you know, there's flaws and there's plot holes or whatever. I was very consistent. And the thing that would freak Mum out a little bit is occasionally when I would talk to him, this empty space, as if there was actually a child there that was maybe, I don't know, 80 centimetres tall, consistently staring or listening and then responding. Or Mum would be like, oh, where's Little Raymond today? And I'd be like, he's right here. You know, like I'd talk about it like that. Mum herself said, even though sometimes it was a little bit eerie in a sense, she also never felt threatened or concerned about it. But she then would ask some questions because one day he just left and he never came back. And then Mum was asking these questions and I'd talk about things he'd told me and the way he looked and the way he talked. Anyway, of course, I don't remember any of this, really. But when I then, again, probably a teenager kind of thing, Mum was like, do you remember Little Raymond? And I was like, whoa, that's weirdly bringing back something. She was like, well, yeah, we had never told you about Grandad Ray at that point. My dad's father, who died before I was born, his name was Raymond. Lots of the things that I told Mum about Little Raymond was the same as Dad's dad, who was dead. And lots of the things that I was told, weird things that I couldn't know as a 2-year-old or a 3-year-old. And so nothing ominous ever came of that, which is another thing that's weird to me. If it was meant for evil, why was it never evil? That was mysterious. That was like, what on earth? So who knows? Maybe as a kid I was playing with my dead granddad. Unsure. I have a 6th sense, some would say. Well, not anymore. Thankfully, I don't sense anything. In fact, sometimes I lack sense, let's be honest.
Wow.
Top that.
Like this is not a video podcast. Just listeners, my hands were like on my face in shock. It was like listening to a true crime podcast or something. But the ending is not. And then the next day, the little girl was dead in her bed.
Thank goodness.
Here she is to tell the story.
Goodness me. I mean, I've listened to many a true crime podcast,
Yeah.
but you and I have historically enjoyed occasionally watching one of those Netflix docuseries about like unsolved mysteries.
Yeah.
Or I prefer the ones that are solved, you know.
Yeah.
Cold cases depress me because I'm like, if we don't know who did this horrible thing, that I don't really care to know about it. But we did watch one, of course it was American, about aliens. And look, I've never been a believer in aliens, right? I must say I've never been a disbeliever. Is that a thing? A non-believer?
A non-believer.
English is really hard. That's what I'm learning. I think they probably don't exist. If they do, don't really care. I feel like if the Lord wanted us to know and do something about it, he'd kind of make that happen and tell us what to do about it. You know what I mean? I have no concerns about my own place in the universe or my worth and value. Humans are the ones in the image of God, so I'm not too concerned. You know what I mean? But there are things that you can't explain sometimes.
Yeah.
And we watched an episode where, honestly, I was starting to be convinced. I was like, goodness me, how do you explain this? How do you explain this, and this evidence. How do you explain
So many witnesses.
all these unrelated people giving the same eyewitness account?
Yeah.
That is what creeps me out. And when someone ends up naked in a field of corn, you go, that's some alien crap. Like, that, were they watching our movies about aliens to come up with their own ideas of what to do with a human?
Yeah.
Anyway, what are your thoughts? I'm actually genuinely curious because I just don't know what you think about aliens. What do you think of?
Well, you and Simone de Beauvoir have recently accused me of being a conspiracy theorist.
But that's just true, though.
But honestly not. But with that stuff like that, my mind does go to like secret government experiments more than aliens. Because like I know aliens don't think like us. That's assumed in the noun itself, I assume. I just can't fathom why you'd choose rural America to visit.
Yeah.
And do
Honestly.
and why you'd have those particular interactions. Just why? But yeah, I did want to ask, when you think of an alien, just for fun, in your mind's eye, not everyone has a mind's eye, but we do, what do you see? Because I'm a big sci-fi fan, which not many people know. I own every season of Stargate there is. I have a signed photo of the members of Stargate.
Don't misunderstand, people.
Trek,
it is Stargate. That's right. Never Star Trek. Yeah. Do not make that mistake, as some have done before.
In Jeju, there was a Stargate. Anyway, just so you know, Jeju has a Stargate. There are lots of different alien races, but there's a particular alien race called the Asgard. They look like your most classically looking alien. It's not the same as E.T., but is sort of in that species of family types of aliens.
Oh, yeah. That race of alien.
So that's what I think of. I'm not an alien believer because I love space. I've always loved space. I know enough about space to significantly challenge whether life forms could be so advanced that they could travel that far and be so advanced that they would travel that far only to be incognito in cornfields in the US South.
Yeah, I agree.
And that's just things I can't put together. What do you think of in your mind's eye for an alien?
Look, so I'm assuming you're definitely asking the visual question, right?
Yeah.
Like, what do I envision? When I hear the word alien, I have so many thoughts. But in terms of what I envision, there was a video when I was in primary school that was viral. An animation with about 4 pixels of an alien singing I Will Survive. Does anyone recall this? Monique looks like she either does recall it or she doesn't, and it's hilarious anyway. You do remember it. Okay, she's nodding. Okay, so that's the alien I picture. Because I don't know why. That's just the alien. And I imagine the alien singing I Will Survive. I won't ruin the ending, but maybe you should try and YouTube. I don't even know what you would YouTube that. Like Alien I Will Survive, probably. Will do the trick. Well, I don't want the ending to be ruined for people because kids loved it. I loved that stuff. And I remember being shook when I first saw it. People were like, oh my gosh, have you seen this video? It's so funny. Let's gather around this big ass computer that takes like 1 million years on dial up to find this thing. The ending, I was like, oh, didn't see it coming. And then I was like, that's really hilarious. I remember thinking that when I was maybe 9 or something like that.
It's 1 minute long, everybody. Do yourself a favor.
And also just do yourself a favor because like what a song, obviously. When I think alien, I actually don't usually picture something. I think of lots of different words and associated things. For me right now, bit of a trigger because I am waiting for my alien registration card. I am an alien in this country. Look, we're going to leave it there. Still don't have the card, have the number, but cannot actually use the number for most things because I need the physical card. It's almost as if we should have a system that uses the internet or something that shows, oh, yes, that number matches your face and your identity card and your passport. But no, that's not what we do here. We need a little bit of plastic that also has the number. So anyway, that's the first thing I think of. Almost immediately after the alien registration card thing, I think of Down Bad by Taylor Swift. Yeah. What a song. It was the first song on Torture Poets that I connected with immediately. Yes, it has a number of F-bombs and you can find a clean version, so I'd encourage to listen to that. What a great song. Who else has written about alien abductions? Probably lots of people, but no one has done it as well as Taylor Swift. That's what I think of when I think of aliens these days. And then I possibly remember that episode we watched on Netflix where honestly I was kind of convinced. I was like, how? Explain it. Explain it. I'm curious to know what the listeners think of, both visually and then just conceptually when you hear the word alien.
But also the sound of the voice. Like,
I never even considered
the sound of an alien's voice.
For some reason, I just assumed they didn't talk. I don't know why.
I think in my mind, like the crazy frog.
Oh, damn.
It's always a voice close to the crazy frog.
What I do like the thought of is aliens truly existing and being so advanced and ahead of us that they do watch us all talking about them and just laugh. They think we talk like that, or they think we look like this. They're probably living among us, okay? They're probably, maybe you're an alien. I don't know. Prove it. Prove that you're not. I'm getting carried away. I also think with aliens, well, of course, you got to think of E.T. and little baby Drew Barrymore. Oh, that was, what a vibe. Scary and also sad. Yeah, thanks for doing the finger E.T. phone home. Not the bird. She wasn't flipping me the bird, just for listeners to clarify. I feel like I'm doing a lot of clarifying this episode. If aliens were watching humanity, especially in the societies in which you and I live, surely they would think that phones are our life source or something. People are attached to them. And I catch the subway every morning, and it's actually a little bit depressing and scary seeing how glued every single person is to their iPhone. It's usually Samsung. They would probably assume that humans need this to live. It's like our battery source or something like that. We could get way deeper in what social commentary that ought to bring. I will end with, I miss my brick phone.
Is that the admonishment of today?
Oh, yeah. Look, admonishment would be, let's go back to the 2G network. I mean, I refused to believe that they were actually going to get rid of that thing. And then they did. And that's when my brick phone didn't work anymore. Goodbye, $20 Coles phone, you know?
Yeah.
So sad. We could actually talk about creepy things forever. I'd like to have a bit of fan interaction, you know. If you want to shoot me a message and share your own freaky story, then I'd be keen to hear it. I feel like to finish, I have to give a shout out to our friend Judy because she's actually the one who requested this episode, both in its entirety as a form, but also the theme, spooky, in time for Halloween. That's it for now. Stay spooky, everyone.
And have a spooky, not spooky, away from creepy people sort of week.
If you are going
From
to
the two
do
of
something
us.
for Halloween, why not dress up as Martin Luther or a different reformer?
You can still look creepy.
I actually think it's a great gateway for the gospel. Actually, in terms of just to finish off, what you did bring up at my birthday, which I had hoped not to bring up again, is that I am terrified of monks. And Luther was not a monk, he was a friar, just to let everyone know. Thank you, Mark Erngy, for getting that into my head. If you are going to dress like a reformer, you know, a lot of them would kind of dress like monks. And that's terrifying. So I think it fits with Halloween, to be honest. Spooky Halloween, dress up as a monk, you're set. And you can talk about the gospel. That'd be cool too.
Yeah, we didn't talk about trick-or-treating.
Well, I do have a great photo on the internet of a family that used to go trick-or-treating back in like the 90s, like the extended family. Stuff of nightmares. Like actually, like I can't, this is where the pod ends here because like if you want this photo, just be warned you can't unsee it. And so I'll show Monique, but like thankfully there's no way to show you listeners.
I think I just dressed up as Princess Jasmine or something. My cultural
Terrifying.
appropriation of my
Horrifying.
youth.
Yeah, that's right. Sickening, some would say. Thank you.
And I actually, you're thinking about Savage Garden creepy.
Yeah.
But actually, is it an EXO song where they end up with
Creepin. Yeah, monster. What a song, seriously.
Creepin.
Yeah. Creepin. Yes, thank you, Baekhyun, for that.
Creepin.
Now just showing off. I can't do that. All right, fairly well.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Creeping. Yeah. Oh, creeping.